All right. Welcome back, everybody. Rudy, with Alpha Investments. And people have been asking me, Rudy, have you noticed that there are some cards that are actually going up in value? And I said, oh, come on. What is it, boy? Is it Old Yeller Down the Well? What is it? Pepperidge Farm remembers? Come on. What are we? So we got a little printed out sheet here. I'm assuming from Dawn Glare or Goldfish or Stocks or something here. And yeah, I guess we're going to take a look here. I guess the interesting part about it is there are actually some cards hitting annual highs and all-time highs, but they're not really the cards you would expect. It's kind of like, really? In this environment, there's anything going up? It's kind of hard to believe. So let's take a look here, shall we? Sorry, I've been working all day here. A little sweaty and messy, but time to cool down and sit down with you guys on the third floor basement with only 4.5 goldfish. I ate half of one last Monday. All right, so I guess it's interesting because the cards going up aren't really expensive reserve list cards. They're not really, it's not really the cards you would expect to go up. I mean, I would assume these are going to be some sort of EDH, Commander, kitchen table type of fun things, Pioneer related or something like that. Because overall, when I look at these, I mean, Avacyn Restored, I mean, last few days we have a bunch of Avacyn Angel of Hope, Exquisite Blood. Those are kind of interesting $30, $40 cards. Kind of interesting little upticks in the market there. And then even Return to Ravnica. I mean, Cyclonic Rift. I mean, really? Approaching $30? Okay. And across the board here, it's interesting because there are some cards that are going up. Like, it's funny, like, you don't see dual lands from Revised or Reserve List going up. The card pushing highs is Monovolt from Revised 3rd edition. I thought that was kind of ironically funny that the card would be non-reserve list but a playable, enjoyable card. I thought that was interesting that would be. And then you got cards like we talked about the other day when I was telling everybody about like Weatherlight and Visions and Mirage and Urza's. I mean, Vampiric Tutor, Visions, not even reserve list. It's been reprinted with different art, pushing over $70 for a rare in Visions. Holy smokes. And then even to Mirage here. I mean, obviously the tutors are always a hot thing, which they're not even rare. Remember that. The tutors in Mirage, when you see tutors hitting $10, $20 a card, remember those tutors are not rares. So when you open Mirage starter decks or starter bricks, you get quite a handful of those cards, those $20 bills. They're not like they're like a mythic, which didn't exist back then. They're not even a rare. So it's kind of interesting. And then, of course, you had, Cursed Totem. Really? You know how long it's been since I've heard or even played with that card? It's probably since like the late 90s since I've seen Cursed Totem go up in value or even people talk about it. And I know the comment section, Rudy, well, if you played Magic the Yu-Gi-Oh!ing your mother and Pokemons, you would understand what's important. It's just funny because some of these cards I haven't even seen the names or anything. It's so long. It's almost like a deja vu from a long time ago. It's crazy to look back on some of these things. And then some of these cards are obviously kind of not surprising at all when you look at them. Gatecrash, which is, see, that's been, I want to comment on that real quick. And again, everything we've been talking about is not reserve list, but this is interesting. So Gatecrash, Breeding Pool, pushing $20, $25. Okay, we all understand the Shocklands were just reprinted in Guilds and Allegiance. And technically, that's a product that's not even over $100 a box. And yet, usually when those things cycle out of standard, the vacuum of value evaporates. And that's very strange that the Shocklands from Guilds and Allegiance, I guess Pioneer and all the other fancy formats are just propping it up. Never seen that before. And like I said, back in the RTR Gatecrash days, that would not have been the case. Those cards always dropped a lot. Well, everything in the set would drop, obviously, leaving rotation. But that's really surprising. It just really caught my attention. The other thing I want to kind of touch on here is Iconic Masters. I mean, the Lotus Cobra, the Sphinx, the Augur. I mean, just these cards kind of pushing up, ticking up slowly and quietly on Iconic Masters. I mean, really? So it's funny. So I'm looking at these cards. These are all kind of cheaper kitchen table. Enjoy Magic the Gathering while you're at home and the world is a disaster. These are all kind of cards that just people like to play with and enjoy. And this all feels like natural, organic movement. It doesn't feel like anyone's trying to push or manipulate any of this. These are all cards that I'm looking at that are just kind of, if you look at the charts, there's no dramatic buyout or swing. These are all just slow movements over the last few weeks, months, 6 months. And that's impressive that really anything would have an uptick in this environment. It's kind of surprising. And like I said, nobody cares about reserve lists. That's, bicycle spokes. The kids go down the street. They got little Invoke Prejudice. They got little dual lands in the bicycle spokes, and they're zipping down the street. But it's interesting. It really is. Another comment I wanted to make was even the older commanders, Commander 2013, just seeing upticks in Basalt Monolith, which has been reprinted multiple times. And of course, Avenger of Zendikar, really, some of these are just very surprising cards that would make a move. And then if you have some Battle Bond cards, you got some Amonkhet, obviously Anointed Procession, I think it is. That's not surprising at all. It's fascinating to see the cards that actually are having some bids in the market. Not skyrocketing, not investors and collectors, just actually getting bids as a whole. I know people have been wanting me to comment about that, especially since on the Iconic Masters and on the, what was the other one? The Commander, yeah. Especially on some of these that have Commander upticks on some of the Commander sets that have gone up in value, or have not gone up in value, I'm sorry. Commander 2018, Commander 2019. And of course, everyone always falls to the same thing. They say, well, Rudy, Commander 2017 is $300-400. So, Commander 2018, Commander 2019, Commander 2020 are going to be $300-400. No. Sorry, everybody. I bet and speculated and invested real heavy in Commander 2018, 2019. Everybody knows that. I've been very public and very upfront about it. I do not think those will become $300-400 sets. When I bought into them at the $90 to $100 price point range, actually, I guess you can still get them at that price. My perspective would be that over the next few years, they would get to 150 to 200, maybe 220, 230 range. And that's really what I thought. You guys, you see, I feel like so much time has already passed that people already don't remember that, Commander 2017 skyrocketed in value, not solely because the cards and the product were good. I mean, does everybody remember what happened with that? How there was no second wave that printed to oblivion like Commander 2018 and 19? Was it Commander 2017? I think that was the product that also had was that the one with the warehouse fire, or was that 2016? Maybe it was 2016. I think it was 2017 Commander was the product that had the warehouse fire. And 40% of all the product was destroyed. I think it was that one. You have to Google that, everybody. If you Google the Commander 2016 or 17 warehouse, you'll find it on the internet. And so that was a huge supply disruption, which caused the market to move very quickly. Which I guess brings me to the next point here. If you haven't heard by now, word on the street is Commander 2020 is having some supply issues and distribution issues due to something about the printing and the logistics due to obviously the shutdowns and the economic conditions in 2020. So apparently, I haven't checked every website, but I've been getting a ton of messages in the last 48 hours asking, Rudy, what on earth is going on? Why did Commander 2020 go from 150, 160, plus tax or shipping or whatever, so maybe 170, to now 220 to 250? I don't know if that includes tax or not, but yeah, so I don't have any information on that so far. I've been hearing rumors about supply problems. I've been hearing rumors about only 35 to 40% of the initial supply is going to be delivered. So again, I want to lay that out there right up front. Be very careful with this situation. If this Commander 2020 situation turns out to unfold and hold this path where it's a major bottleneck, be very careful. Do not, I'm warning you all, do not buy Commander 2020 for $230 to $250 a piece. That is way too high for a new product. Again, it's a 5-deck product instead of 4. Wizards did raise the price, so it's not going to be nearly as cheap as the 2018, 2019, 2017. So because the WotC did increase the wholesale price point to distributors, which is passed through to stores, in addition to the lower supply. So you have a lot of market forces that are pushing it higher, but that does not justify a whopping I'm hearing $250. I saw a message saying $290 for Commander product. I'm like, that's just absurdly high. I would think kind of $200, $199 out the door maybe, but it probably should still be maybe 180s, 190s at the most. And again, it is a bigger product. It's 5 decks, now 4. It's crazy. So yeah, everybody needs to be real careful with that. And most likely the best probable scenario with this Commander 2020 is that it is going to have the rest of the product released maybe in a couple weeks or a couple months or later in the year, similar to the Brawl deck situation, similar to the Unsanctioned, similar to the Commander 2019. Obviously, the most important question everybody's asking themselves is, well, is this going to be a, nuke it, where the second wave is just wipes out the market like the Brawl decks in Commander 2019? Or is it going to be a minimal second wave, maybe kind of like Commander 2016 or Commander 2014? As of right now, I know this is probably not going to be a popular opinion. I actually don't think the second wave of Commander 2020 is probably going to be as big as people think. Now, when I say second wave, I don't mean the rest of the product that was supposed to be released. It's just sitting somewhere. I'm referring to the second reprint. All Commander products normally have a 2-tier print run. You have the release print run, and it's kind of released over the first 30 days of the product's life cycle. And then you have about a 5 to 7 month later main second print run by the time it gets printed, wrapped up on pallets, shipped around the world to the locations, moved to distributors, gets moved to stores by the time it runs through the entire food chain. So I'm talking about that because I don't think this is going to be like a Commander 2017 situation where there's a warehouse fire, the prices skyrocket. I don't think you're ever going to see that Black Swan event again. But I do think it could be more like a Commander 2015 or a Commander 2018. I think they learned their lesson on the 2019 on upticking the print run a little too much. So I don't think you're going to see the saturation that 2019 had. But remember, with the Wizards and being backed up on printers and logistics and problems around the world, everything, I just found out, I'm getting rumors that, I found out about the rumors that supposedly Jumpstart's already been delayed. I haven't checked on that, but with these products being pushed and moved, that's going to disrupt the printers, presses, and the printing locations, and the restocks moving forward. It's going to disruption. I think certain things may get skipped, like a second print run of a certain product. So I want to lay that out there. So I want to go back to a few other cards here. There are actually some silly price upticks on reserve list cards, but it's like Chaos Orbs and Alpha cards that are just moved from like 7,000 to 8,000. I don't take any of that stuff seriously because you really can't graph or chart Alpha Beta cards because the price differences between a heavy played Chaos Orb and a Gem Mint Chaos Orb is going to be, $10,000, $20,000 or some crazy number, who knows? So you really can't count Alpha Beta pricing when you look at these little charts in public websites, but they're very good to track newer cards that move on very small scales. It's a lot more useful to follow that kind of thing. But anyways, I mostly wanted to point out that I just found it interesting that we're seeing cards like the Tutors and Mirage cards and random Iconic Masters and, Masters 25 and Pact of Negation and even some Ixalan cards and just even some Plane Chasing Anthology cards. And again, breeding pools, Ravnica Allegiances and Guilds and even War of the Spark, there's even some upticks. I kind of find that stuff the most interesting, that we're actually seeing any form of uptick considering the environment we're in. I thought, because for a while there, a few weeks ago, the cards that were going up in value were pretty much next to nothing. It was just there was a list of like 500 cards going down and a list of like 5 cards going up. As they call on Wall Street, the advanced decline ratio was like a 95% down, 5% up, or a 5 to 95. It was a ridiculous skewed environment, which just shows very bearish and very negative, weak environment, which is caused by, obviously, people needing to raise money, people needing to raise cash, stores needed to, liquidate inventory. Keep in mind, there's a lot of stores around the country where the employees or the store owners took a lot of inventory home, and they're just listing and selling stuff from their home on the internet to raise capital and keep that cash flow coming in. That's really about what I want to talk about. I was just kind of very surprised that we're seeing any form of uptick in the kind of, I don't know, what do you want to call it, pioneer? What, standard? I've been hearing rumors that standard is getting just obliterated of how unbalanced Ikoria is. So that's interesting. And that's really all that's going on. Besides that, I'm here to tell you guys as of filming this video here, and towards the middle to, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through April of 2020, there's still no real appreciation in any sealed boxes right now. There's no appreciation in vintage Magic cards. There's no positive returns. There's nothing really amazing to report on, so I haven't really done a market update like I have usually once a month in the other months. I kind of expect this to stay this way for a couple more months. I do think a lot of people may be downplaying. Everybody keeps thinking, oh, everything's going to open back up and we're all going to bounce right back. I've been very, I don't want to say negative Nancy, but very suspicious of this whole attitude of everything's going to bounce right back. We're going to click the open sign on. Everyone's going to run back out to the restaurants and start spending money. I do think we're in for a slower, longer term thing because, I don't know about you guys, but, if my parents call and say, hey, Rudy, let's go out to dinner at some busy restaurant where we got to get a beeper or a buzzer and sit in the lobby with a bunch of people. I don't know if I'm ready to just sit around hundreds of people in a lobby and touch these nasty things. You see what I'm saying? There's still going to be a lot of hesitation out there that's going to take time. That's really all I have to say about these particular products. I thought it was quite interesting, and I thought it deserved a little follow-up video. Other than that, everybody, Ravnica Collectors, apparently, I want to comment real quick. Apparently, the Godzilla error promo, whatever you want to call the Godzilla super people are being ridiculous about, is apparently in all the collectors boxes because those are all first print run. So that's a very bullish indicator for the collectors boxes. Also, and like I said, the Commander 2020 is going to be a wild card, everybody. I don't know how that's going to settle. I did find out also that one distributor has already raised the price to stores because they see an opportunity. So I don't know how much this this Commander product is going to get pushed along the way. So that's all I have today, everybody. Thanks for watching, and interesting little movements. Nothing really too crazy. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss any weird little card that I thought would be quite interesting on here. Anything that deserves, no, nothing really interesting. Okay. Other than that, be safe. Have a great day, everybody.